Hello and welcome to my very quick overview of the Exchange EAC, or Exchange Administration Center, which is provided in Exchange 2013 release preview. This video is associated with part 2 of my www.telnetport25.com article series on how you can install Exchange 2013 RP onto Windows Server 2008 R2. The EAC is new, naturally, in 2013 and replaces the Exchange Management Console that you would have been familiar with in Exchange 2007 and Exchange 2010. The interface is very slick, looks very nice, and when you access it, and it's now purely accessed via a web browser, there's no MMC controls, you are presented with the screen. The logon screen looks like this, which you can sign into by clicking in the sign in button, naturally. And when you have logged on, you are presented with what it is, in my opinion, a rather slick and spanky new interface. Within the EAC, it's probably best to naturally start at the top of the screen, where you have two main options. You have Enterprise, Office 360, Administrator, and Help. One of the design objectives, or certainly one of the things that Microsoft have wanted to provide in this new interface, is a more seamless integration between on-premises, online, or hybrid deployments. In previous versions of Exchange, or more pertinently 2010, whereas it was getting there were multiple interfaces. If you wanted to administer your online or on-premises environment or hybrid, you'd have to be jumping around a little bit. Within 2013, Microsoft have tried to integrate this experience into the one interface. Beyond that, I won't be going into much more detail in online deployments or hybrid deployments, because regrettably my lab isn't part of such a setup, but it's just important to know that the tool itself can be used, or will be able to be used, with administering mixed environments. Coming over to the side, you get obviously an indicator of who you're logged on as, and dropping down the box you get to either log in as another user or sign out. And naturally, in the help functions, you can bring up the online help and disable a few bits, give feedback, and view the copyright information. Left hand side of the screen is sort of like your areas bar, what parts or facets of Exchange you'd like to be administrating or administering, even, again, easy for me to say. And the default view when you log it is recipients. So I've currently got two recipients in my organisation, and clicking on them, you'll notice on the right hand side, which gives you a nice little details view, or a central details view of that particular recipient, and you have a number of buttons over here that let you do some common functions. One nice little feature is that you get to, very similar to the old MMC, you get to add, remove columns, and you can save these views and export the data that are in the views, which I think is quite a neat little feature. Again, it was present in the old MMC, but it just seems to have been designed quite nicely within the management interface, and I believe that once you've made these changes, which isn't certainly the same experience I had in 2010, those options will stay. So, for example, if I were to add in, let's have a look, database, which is one I commonly use, that will appear there, and the review is refreshing at the moment. And now that it's completed, you can see that the mailbox database and basically the DB field has been populated. As I alluded to, one of the cool things about this is that once you've changed the column views, or added or removed columns, these remain sticky or persistent, which wasn't always the case in the previous Exchange Management Console, where the views could get reset. As I said, when you select a recipient, their details or an overview of their details appear down the right hand side of the screen. Double clicking on a recipient opens up a more detailed properties window, which can be linked back to double clicking on a recipient in the 2010 or 2007 management consoles, where you can set and view a number of aspects of the actual recipient, so mailbox usage, etc. I haven't actually logged on with Alan Reed, so that this won't actually populate. Across the top, under recipients, you've got you can perform group management, uh, resources management. So room mailboxes, equipment mailboxes traditionally, contact management or contacts management. You can define uh, a new concept of shared mailboxes or shared calendars, for example. So users are able to send email to and from common mailboxes and share common calendars. There are numerous advantages that I can see in that particular configuration. And on the sort of the last, it's not really a tab, but last option underneath recipient management, you have the ability to review and set up migration-based activities. So, for example, moving mailboxes between databases, or indeed, if appropriately set up, between forests. Moving down the left-hand side, the permissions options gives you some fairly common on the first place. You've got sort of like RBAC configuration. So you can set up targeted roles within your organisation for people. On the users role tab, here you get the ability to assign user delegated roles. So, for example, the ability to change aspects of their contact information, manage their own distribution groups, and a whole other sort of like mini aspects. Within their own ecosystem, stuff very useful for stuff that you don't want to be taking up administrative or third tier time or at service desk time. Basically, allowing a sort of self-service within the user base. And lastly, you have OWA policies, which are very similar to what is allowed to happen within the Outlook web app. So grant which features are present, file access, direct, public or share, offline access, etc. Moving down into compliance management, it's had a really big overhaul in Exchange 2013. You can in here you can configure as an administrator an awful lot of organisational discovery, litigation hold, auditing, mailbox access. As I said, data loss prevention is quite cool. The ability to prevent the deletion of key items of email from within user mailboxes within the organisation. This is although I will confess I haven't played with it a huge amount, but this is a really big, I think, addition to Exchange 2013 because it's policy based. Whereas I think pretty much previous versions of Exchange relied upon the administrator to use litigation hold features as best they can, more targeting at the user. This is more intelligent by actually looking for particular behaviours within mail items to basically stop this information from leaking or being destroyed within your organisation. I'm sure a few of us out there have been in the position where they have been asked to retrieve mail items that are being used as part of a legal case or financial bid or something like that, and only to discover that it's actually gone for one reason or another. And coming across, you have the standard sort of like retention policies, retention tags, and journaling. Clicking into organisation management, you have a few options. The sharing area allows for you to establish basically calendar and contact information between other disparate domains, and requires a federation trust. This is again very similar to what already existed in Exchange 2010. The apps option is an interesting new feature. What Microsoft has built into Exchange 2013 is little sort of productivity helper applications that can pick up context sensitive links or terms within email items and automate certain processes for you. So, for example, suggested appointments. If you have an email item that mentions a specific date, it can look that up for you and arrange an appointment or a meeting request, all at a few clicks of a button. Obviously, I expect this feature to get quite big going forward as more and more support is developed for Exchange 2013. It's important to note that this functionality is only currently available in Outlook Web App 2013 and I believe Outlook 2013 at the moment. And on address lists, this is a very familiar tab for those of you who've used 2007 and 2010. These are where you configure all of your address lists for within your organisation. And I believe that the feature also potentially integrates the segregated address list functionality that was introduced in Service Pack 2 for Exchange 2010. Coming down again to protection, you get to configure some of the built-in anti-malware settings that are built into Exchange 2013. And click on that, so you get to decide what happens when particular email messages meet a certain criteria as they flow through your organisation. Mail flow. Again, an awful lot of this will be very, very familiar to people who've used 2007 and 2010. You have the ability to basically configure your transport rules, what accepted domains you know your organisation is responsible for, configure email address policies, receive and send connectors. Mobile, I think this is quite a nice feature. Obviously, mobile device management was available in the ECP in Exchange 2010, but not available in any real detail in the Exchange Management Console. So having it integrated into a whole piece management interfaces is pretty cool. You can configure your mobile device access and your mobile device policies from within this area. So obviously you can block or based upon device type or operating system type, block certain devices, all kinds of cool stuff like that. Public folders is an area that has undergone radical change in 2013. The traditional public folder root tree and separate databases is now no more, and the concept of public folder mailboxes has been introduced, where the public folder items or shared repository is stored within the actual mailbox store or database store. So it's, in my opinion, I think this is a really good idea. Placing everything in the one database now, you basically can configure a number of public folders within a public folder mailbox that you have set up. In my organisation, I've only set up one root folder at the moment, and I haven't really gotten into the real nitty-gritty of configuring it just yet. But I have a single default public folder mailbox that I set up to test the public folder functionality as redesigned in Exchange. But I think this is a really cool new redesign feature that the Exchange team have put in. Coming down to unified messaging. Again, I don't actually have any servers within, within the organisation, or I certainly haven't set up unified messaging on the actual CAS role. So obviously there isn't actually a role any longer. But you can control all of it from within here. Servers gives you the, this is a bit of an interesting one. Steve Goodman, I think, raised a good point in an email that I saw the other day, which is obviously databases were moved to the organisation level in Exchange 2010, and of course within the 2013 interface your database controls exist under servers. This doesn't mean that it's in terms of Active Directory or the organizational hierarchy, databases have made a shift. Again, they're still in the same place. Certainly in terms of ADSI edit when you have a look through, but you can the functionality remains almost pretty much the same, where you can create database availability groups, configure the various web virtual directories, and your certificate management is now clearly marked under servers as well. This certificates was a bit of a bugbear of mine in Exchange 2010. Um, because I found that in the management console it didn't seem to have a right place to live logically for me in terms of the structure. Obviously, if you clicked on servers in the EMC in 2010, you could get all the relevant certificate functions. But to me, I always found myself at times sitting there going, "Where is it again?" But so it's now clearly marked under its own heading in the EAC. And then lastly, we have hybrid, which, funnily enough, is the where you would configure your links to your cloud-based Office 365 Exchange configuration, basically off-premises. Naturally, I don't actually have an off-premises model to demonstrate to you. Anyhow, that is a real whistle-stop overview of the EAC. I'm going to conclude it there. Hope that you've enjoyed it. Like I said, I advise that you log in and you play with it and you get to understand where things now live and how you can configure them. I think Microsoft's done a really nice job on this. It's something that to me looks a lot cleaner. It's getting there in terms of logic, in terms of administration, and I'm looking forward to very much to see what it finally looks like in the RTM. So thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.